I came back home for Christmas. The place was empty, except for Grandma quietly eating leftovers at the kitchen table. There was a note waiting for me. Just a single line: used your $8,500 loan for a family cruise. Take care of her. That was all it said. Grandma looked up and said gently, "We'll fix this." I just gave a slow nod. What else was there to do? 4 days later, they showed up at the door, pleading. But I didn't bother knocking. This was still technically my parents' house, but I'd practically paid for it. I was supposed to be home for the holidays, just like I always promised. Every year, without fail. But the moment I pushed open that front door, I could tell something was wrong. The usual warmth and laughter were missing. The Christmas tree was up, sure. Its lights blinked softly, and the plastic star on top twitched like it was trying to apologize. But the house was heavy with silence. No voices echoing down the hallway. No torn wrapping paper on the floor. No scent of cinnamon or slightly burnt cookies floating from the kitchen. Just the faint sound of a fork tapping against a plate somewhere in the back. "Hello?" I called out, stepping in carefully. "In here, sweetheart," came a voice from the kitchen, quiet and worn out. I turned the corner and saw her. Grandma, sitting alone at the table in her old purple knit sweater, picking at cold stuffing and half-eaten ham. I blinked, confused. "Where is everyone?" She didn't answer right away. Just gave me a tired, toothless smile and slid a folded piece of paper across the table. Her hands were shaking. I picked up the note. It wasn't even in an envelope. Just a ripped page from a notebook with my name scrawled across it in thick black pen. Spent your $8,500 loan on a family cruise. Sorry. Take care of Grandma while we're gone. Love, Mom. I just stared at it. My mouth stayed shut, and my brain hit a wall somewhere around the words loan and cruise. That money was meant for my dental surgery. I'd been saving over a year. Grandma was watching me closely, like someone stepping through a field full of landmines. She said softly, almost like she didn't believe it herself, "I guess they thought you wouldn't mind." She started folding a napkin with shaky hands. "They left yesterday." I sank into a chair. The cushion felt colder than the air in the room. No call. No heads up. Nothing. Just emptied my account and left Grandma behind. I whispered, "They just left you here." She let out a dry chuckle. "Oh, honey. You know they only call when they need something." I nodded slowly, fists curling beneath the table. This wasn't new. Just louder than before. Grandma took a small sip of her orange juice, met my eyes, and said it again, this time with more weight, "We'll fix this." I didn't say a word. But inside, something cracked. And in that empty space, something colder started to take root. That night, Grandma went to bed early. Said she was tired. Said her hips weren't up for waiting anymore. She kissed my cheek, gave my arm a pat, and whispered, "You were always the only one who stayed kind." Then she shuffled off, limping from that fall she took 2 winters back, the one no one ever took her to rehab for. I stayed up alone in that house for hours. No TV. No lights. Just me and that note. That damn note. The money. The loan. My hard-earned savings. I worked night shifts for that. Gave up weekends, holidays. Driving Uber. Taking freelance gigs. Skipping meals. Skipping sleep. $8,500. Gone. Blown on a cruise. I opened the family group chat. Nothing. Not even a Merry Christmas. I scrolled back. The last message from Mom was from November. "Don't forget to transfer the loan to Dad's account. We need to book before prices go up." Loan. Not a gift. They never called it that because they knew it wasn't. I could still hear Mom's voice pitching it to me, "It's just a short-term loan. We'll pay you back by February, latest. You can always reschedule your dental thing." And like always, I nodded. I nodded when they needed help with Jacob's tuition. I nodded when they asked for money to cover Dad's gambling debt. I even nodded when Kelly needed rent after quitting her job because her boss was mean. I always nodded. Because if I didn't, I was the selfish one. The difficult one. The ungrateful one. Because family comes first. Because, after everything they've supposedly done for me. Done for me? They kicked me out at 17 for refusing to lie when Jacob stole Grandma's painkillers. They missed my college graduation because they were too busy helping Emily move in with her boyfriend. They forgot my birthday. 3 years in a row. But the second they needed cash? Suddenly I was family again. By the next morning, I had answers. They weren't just on any cruise. They were on the Majestic Aurora, a 10-day luxury cruise through the Caribbean. Private butler service. Deck suites. Infinity pools. Gourmet food. $3,000 a person. 4 of them. I know, because Emily posted a picture on Instagram, one she must have forgotten to block me from. All 4 of them in matching bathrobes, clinking champagne glasses. The caption? Finally some peace, away from all the leeches and negativity. Leeches. I actually laughed out loud. They used my money. Left Grandma with a plate of cold leftovers. And I'm the leech? That's when something inside me finally snapped. But I wasn't sad. Not anymore. And I wasn't even mad. I was focused. That night, Grandma found me in the garage. I was knee-deep in Dad's old filing cabinet, surrounded by dusty paperwork, stacks of old bills, and faded records. She didn't say a word. Just stood there while I dug through it all like I was unearthing bones. I need to know everything, I told her. Where the money went. What they did. Who else knew? She sat down next to me, pulled a worn-out notebook from a box, and started flipping through it. Let's start with 2016, she said. That's the year your mother got access to my pension account. By midnight, we had numbers. By the next day, we had a plan. They rolled into the driveway like returning royalty, entitled, smug, and utterly oblivious. The same people who left me and Grandma with nothing but a note and a fridge full of spoiled coleslaw now came home laughing like heroes back from battle. Their voices echoed through the house before the door even opened. Emily came in first, dragging a designer suitcase behind her, hair braided with ribbons, nails glinting with fresh polish. Ugh, I am so glad to be back, she groaned. That last dinner on the ship gave me hives. Behind her, my mother made her grand entrance, sunglasses still on, gliding in like a soap opera villain surveying her domain. Did you even clean up a little? She asked, stepping over Grandma's shawl like it was trash. Dad lumbered in next, red-faced and bloated from 10 days of cruise buffets. He spotted me and grunted. Oh. You're still here? Jacob was last. He didn't even glance at Grandma. Just dumped his bags by the couch and collapsed into it like a man who'd survived some great hardship. I didn't say a word. Just sat calmly at the table, hands folded. Waiting. Where's the food? Mom asked, peering around the kitchen like she still owned the place. In the fridge, I said. Still plenty of that ham you left. Jacob snorted. Still on that, he muttered. Dude, just order takeout. It's not like you're broke. I stood up slowly. Glad you're all here. Sit down. I've got something to show you. Jacob rolled his eyes but slumped into a chair. Dad cracked his knuckles. Emily was too busy looking for an outlet to charge her phone. I turned my laptop toward them and hit play. The first file, a spreadsheet. But not just any spreadsheet, this was a 4-day forensic audit, built by Grandma and me. Line by line, every dollar transferred from her pension. Every ATM withdrawal at Dad's usual gas stations. Every Zelle payment Emily claimed was an emergency, but turned out to be Sephora, Apple, and God knows what else. Mom's voice cut in, suddenly tight. Where'd you get this? From her bank, I replied. You should be more careful when using someone else's password. Next video, screenshots. Venmo transactions. Account logins from mom's device. Access points to the pension that matched dad's late-night bidding habits. Then came the emails. Mom to Emily, he won't notice the cruise deposit missing. He trusts us too much. Emily's reply, he's a softie. Plus, who even leaves grandma alone on Christmas anyway? I clenched my jaw, but I kept going. I could stop here, I said. But I won't. One more file. A voice recording. Kelly, Jacob's wife, standing on our porch 2 nights ago, crying. I didn't want to go. I begged him. But Jacob said if you didn't give the money, they'd just leave her and deal with it later. I only stayed quiet because he said it'd all blow over. I'm sorry. I couldn't take it anymore. Jacob sprang to his feet. You recorded my wife? That's illegal. No, I said calmly. She asked me to. Said she was tired of lying for you. Tired of watching you bleed people dry. Dad stood up now, face a dangerous shade of red. You little snake. You've been digging into our accounts. Like someone who's done being robbed, I snapped. Then I opened one last tab. A pre-written email. Subject line, formal report of elder financial abuse, evidence attached. It was addressed to the Social Security Fraud Division, Grandma's attorney, the county ombudsman, and 2 local news outlets. You have 48 hours, I said, voice steady. To return every penny. Or I send this. All of it. Emily's hands trembled. You're bluffing. You'd ruin your own family. No, I said. You ruined yourselves. I'm just sending the bill. Then Grandma stood. She hadn't spoken once through all of it. But now she walked to the head of the table, placed her hand gently on the back of a chair, and said, I raised 3 of you. Fed you. Changed you. Protected you. And when I couldn't walk, you left me with frozen beans and moldy pie while you sipped champagne on stolen money. She paused. Her voice dropped to a simmer. You're lucky it's him coming after you. Because if it were just me. She let the sentence trail off. But the room was dead silent. The message was loud and clear. Dad muttered something under his breath and stormed out. Emily tried to hug Grandma. She turned away. Jacob glared at me. You're not family anymore. I smiled. No. I'm finally free. They didn't think I'd do it. Even with that email sitting in front of them, even after Grandma's quiet fury leveled the room, they still thought I'd fold. That they could wear me down, manipulate me, by my silence with guilt and gaslighting. But that version of me, the one who nodded, who paid, who said thank you for crumbs. He died the moment they spent $8,500 of my savings on piña coladas and a cruise buffet. The first 24 hours were quiet. No texts. No apologies. Just Grandma and me in that hollow house, eating microwave oatmeal and taking turns refreshing the bank account. Nothing came. On the second day, I sent the email. Every file. Every screenshot. Every recording. Dated and attached. Sent to the state authorities. CC'd to every news desk in a 100-mile radius. At 6:13 p.m., I got a reply, thank you for your submission. A case has been opened. Day 3, it all exploded. Jacob was the first to panic. I woke up to 12 missed calls and a flood of texts ranging from we didn't mean it like that to you're seriously going to destroy your own family over some money? Then came Mom's signature move, you're being emotional. Please take the post down. We'll talk. But I didn't answer. Instead, I forwarded everything to my attorney, Natalie, a woman with the precision of a surgeon and the patience of a loaded gun. She had been working with Grandma's legal advisor from the moment I recorded Kelly's confession. By noon, Natalie sent official letters of intent to sue to my parents, Jacob and Emily. She didn't bluff either. The charges? Elder financial abuse. Unauthorized access to retirement funds. Misappropriation of family loans. The amount owed, with interest and damages, came out to $14,322.85. The next night, Mom showed up at our door. She looked like someone who hadn't slept in days, no makeup, her hair sloppily pinned back like an afterthought. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice trembling. I crossed my arms. "Only if you brought a checkbook." Wordlessly, she reached into her bag and handed me a white envelope. Inside was a cashier's check for $8,500, my loan. "No interest?" I asked flatly. "You're lucky to even get this," she snapped. "We're being destroyed by this mess. You created it. You're turning your back on your own mother," she hissed. "No," I said, stepping outside and letting the door slam shut behind me. "I'm finally turning my back on a thief." Later that week, Emily called me from her work phone. She was crying. She said the article had started circulating. The headline? "Family steals disabled grandmother's pension, abandons her at Christmas, grandson fights back." It had 42,000 shares overnight. Emily's employer, a boutique marketing firm, wasn't thrilled to see her name attached to every screenshot. Her infamous message about leeches and negativity had become a viral meme. "I'm getting fired," she screamed. "Do you even realize what you've done?" Returning the favor, I said. "Now pay your share." She did. In 4 installments. I made her send proof of each payment. No shortcuts. Jacob was the last to crack. At first, he played it cool, bragging online. "My boss doesn't care," he wrote. "It's all fake anyway." But then Kelly left him. She filed for separation. Said she wouldn't raise her kids in a house built on lies and theft. She called me the same day. "I'm sorry it took me this long," she whispered. "But now I see him for who he really is." I asked if she needed help finding a place. She hesitated. "Only if it comes with no strings attached." I smiled. "Then yes. Because you did the right thing." 2 days later, Jacob showed up at my door. Unshaven. Tired. Seething. "You fool," he hissed. "You ruined everything." "No," I said, handing him a legal document. "You did." Natalie had just filed a motion to garnish his wages. He tried to tear it in half and throw it at me. I didn't flinch. "Pay. Every penny," I said. "Or we freeze your accounts." "I'm not bluffing. Ask Emily." By the end of the second week, every cent had been repaid. $8,500 from Mom and Dad. $3,100 from Emily, including interest. $2,700 from Jacob after borrowing from his boss, humiliatingly. Total, $14,300 and change. I used $3,000 to finally get my dental surgery. Another $2,000 went toward buying Grandma a proper lift chair and hiring a home nurse. The rest? Locked in an interest-bearing account in her name, accessible only by her and me. When I showed her the paperwork, she cried. "They took everything from me," she whispered. "But they didn't take you." And just like that, I had one. Not just the money. Not just the legal war. I had won myself back. The weight I'd carried for years, the guilt, the duty, the quiet shame of being the least loved, fell off like a bad coat. I stood straighter than I had in years. They stopped calling. And for the first time, the silence didn't ache. It had a pulse. Not the silence of guilt or dread, but a clean, surgical stillness. The kind that follows after cutting out something toxic. The money was returned. The house was peaceful. And Grandma finally slept through the night without jerking awake in fear that someone was coming to steal what little she had left. And me? I was becoming someone they could no longer manipulate. In the weeks after the blowout, I didn't just collect money, I collected my life. I quit the job that had drained me and took a remote contract that paid better and gave me my hours back. I took Grandma to her favorite diner, checkerboard floors, cracked leather booths, the worst coffee in the state. She laughed more in that 1 hour than she had in 5 years. "I miss this," she said, dunking fries into her milkshake. "You mean your arteries miss this?" I teased. She shrugged. "I'd rather die laughing with you than choking on cruise shrimp with those snakes." Fair enough. But even peace has its ghosts. They didn't call. But they talked. Emily posted on Facebook about how some people don't understand what forgiveness means, pairing it with a photo of her lighting a candle in church. Mom told distant relatives I had manipulated Grandma in her old age, conveniently skipping the part where she used Grandma's pension to pay off her plastic surgery debt. Jacob? Oh, Jacob went full delusional. Posted a dramatic reel with audio from Succession, acting like the betrayed heir of some tragic empire. The caption? "Some people would rather see you fall than rise with you." I laughed for 10 minutes straight. Rise with you? You tried to burn me alive and dance in the ashes. They wanted to rewrite the story. But I had the receipts. And I wasn't going back into the shadows. The turning point came 3 weeks later. I was at the grocery store with Grandma, pushing her cart down the canned soup aisle, when a woman approached us. Older. Elegant. Familiar in a way that made me pause. "I'm sorry," she said gently, locking eyes with me. "Are you the one from the article?" I tensed. She smiled. "The one who saved his grandmother?" I blinked. I guess. Yeah. She looked at Grandma, then back at me. "I just wanted to say thank you. For standing up. For not staying quiet." Then her voice broke. "My mother, they did the same to her. But no one fought for her. I wish someone had." She reached out, touched my arm, soft, brief, then turned and walked away. I turned to Grandma. She was frozen, one hand on a soup can, tears brimming in her eyes. "I didn't think anyone saw us," she whispered. "They do now," I said. And in that moment, it hit me. This was never just about the money. Or revenge. Or proving I wasn't some failure. This was about truth. About saying it, finally, out loud. And the best part? I was done explaining myself. I didn't need to raise my voice. The truth was already loose in the world, dragging their names behind it like a garbage bag that split open on the sidewalk. Every time they posted, people remembered. Every time they lied, someone in the comments reminded them exactly who they were. Mom tried rebuilding her image. She launched a YouTube cooking channel called Cozy Kitchen with Carla. In her first video, someone commented, "Did you pay for that oven with stolen retirement funds?" She deleted the channel within 48 hours. Jacob tried landing a new job. Didn't even make it past the background check. Apparently, the garnishment orders raised too many red flags. Oops. Emily disappeared for a while, then popped back up under a new Instagram handle at m_life_reset. Yoga poses. Inspirational quotes. Hashtags about cutting out toxic people. Which was funny. Because I didn't cut her out. I exiled her. Months passed. I moved into a new apartment, quiet, clean, furnished entirely with second-hand pieces I chose for myself. Nothing they touched. Nothing they gave. I brought Grandma with me. One room for her. One for me. She decorated her space with old family photos and a worn blanket she'd crocheted back in 1993. She called it the fort. One evening, she knocked on my door and eased herself onto my bed. "I have a question," she said, carefully. "When you found that note they left, why didn't you just walk away? Why did you stay?" I thought about it. Then said, "Because I remembered who I was before they made me forget." She stared at me for a long time, then nodded. "I'm proud of you, sweetheart." And that broke me harder than any insult they ever screamed. Because she meant it. And because no one else in that family ever had. Weeks later, I bumped into Kelly outside a coffee shop. She looked lighter, happier, healthier. She told me she was taking night classes, working towards certification, building a future that was finally hers. I didn't know I could live like this, she said, without being afraid of what he'd do next. She stepped closer. You gave me that. I didn't know what to say. I just stood there, blinking. She smiled. You changed more than just your life, you know? I nodded. Quietly. And maybe, just maybe, for the first time, I believed it. So here it is. My ending. You want to know what happened to them? They destroyed their own names trying to bury mine. You want to know what happened to me? I stopped waiting for them to call me family. And started building one with people who never made me beg to be loved. And now I sleep. Peacefully. With all the lights off. Because I'm not afraid anymore of what they'll take next. They already took everything. And I took it back.